Hello, everybody. I'm sure we all watched that mess of an episode and we all have like a lot to talk
Lord,
about. So,
Lord.
joining me today, we have our ever Braylon Lee, our Queen
Hey,
Stevie
hey.
Kijiman, and Q is
Hey,
on his way.
Yes, for
So,
sure.
if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to our various channels, like the video, and you know what, as usual, comment on the live so that we will hear your opinions basically
Yes.
on the varying topics. So we're going to just go straight into the whole episode because there's a lot that happened. I will legit skip the first 10 minutes because, to be honest, I don't know what was happening in that part. We're just showing us several people and go into the main thing. So, as everybody comes in, they had like they all met each other. We know that we had like two different mixers. So eventually everybody met each other. And as usual, they said a woman was leaving. To be honest, looking at the cast, I felt the men should actually get to leave more. If possible, evict five men and bring in five new men. Because as I've always said, the women are way higher in class than
Facts.
the men this season. So a woman was going to be eliminated. That means the men had the power to evict one of them, unfortunately. And the two women at the bottom ended up being Koshia and April. So we're going to go into all their journey this episode and why exactly what happened at the end happened. So we're starting off with April. So during the whole mixer where everybody ended up meeting, April and Mika had a conversation with Jonathan. Now, many people are split in this whole situation. So they started talking to him about his past relationships. And for something that I found weird, Jonathan has been calling his ex wife his baby mama. And that was something that is a very big red flag to me. And there's no how anybody wants to tell
exactly.
that.
Hmm.
If I
Yeah,
was in the mixer, I would think he had a baby mama, not he had an ex-wife. So they were asking him about the ex-wife, and the way he was talking about it, he started talking about it sounded like he had a baby mama issue, as if he's still sleeping with her. He said he slept with her the last time was 2 years ago, and when he was like asked, okay, so would she have a problem with you dating somebody? He was like, yeah. And he started getting angry with the fact that they were asking me questions about his baby mama. What do you guys think about this whole situation?
Oh, Lord. I mean,
I'm gonna
no, go
say,
ahead.
do you want to go first?
No, no, no. Go right ahead. I'll come right after you.
Okay, listen, Solana, I agree with you because listen, me and Brazen was actually talking right before the show, and I told him the same thing. I said it's mighty crazy how you downplay her as your baby mom at first, but then when you're around another group of people, she was your ex-wife. And I feel like once you get married, especially if you have children within the marriage, she's not just your baby mama. That is the mother of your children. That is your ex wife. She will always be your ex wife and the mother of your children. Baby mama is more so, really wasn't expected, not really planning on being together. We just have a child together. You know what I'm saying? That's baby mama. But your ex wife, that's different. And for you to downplay her as just a baby mama, that is extreme red flags. It just made no sense. And then the uneasiness and how he started to get irritated and squirmy when they was asking these questions just shows that I feel like there's more to it. You're either still messing with your baby mama because you even said that she still feels that y'all should be together. So if you know this, how like it just doesn't make sense. Like you know that she wants to be with you, but I mean, you could be moved past it. That's fine. But why is it that you can't really answer the questions about it without feeling so uncomfortable? And we'll get more into that. But just like I told Braylon, sometimes you got to sit in the uncomfortable because you can't sometimes grow to be comfortable within yourself without sitting in uncomfortable situations sometimes. And we'll get, like I said, we'll get into more of that later. But yeah, Red flags, all top.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I totally agree. It was the fact of not caring about the energy at the table. You know what I mean? All of y'all there are grown, and all y'all have a past. It is the way that you carry yourself with the energy that determines the responsibility. You're welcome and glad to have you here. Um, and the thing that really gets to me, and yes, me and Gigi did talk before the show, is that it seems like responsibility is a pre-existing medical condition for some people on this cast. Of you came on TV to find love, but you don't want to be responsible for how you want to get to that finish line of wanting love. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Facts.
Family,
Hey, Q,
family,
welcome on.
what's going
Thank
on,
you.
family? How we doing? How we doing?
Bless,
My
brother,
take,
bless.
yeah, my take on the situation. My take on the situation might be a little different. Because I felt the energy from the women, and I'm like, it kind of upset me because I felt like that energy came from a bad place. Then towards the end of the show, one of the ladies came by and said, "Hey, that I have some insecurities, you know what I'm saying, about certain things, you know what I'm saying?"
Hmm.
So was that question coming from your insecurities or was that question coming from a good place? You know what I'm saying? Because you can ask the question all you want to and demand an answer, but at the exact same time, is that question warranted? You know what I'm saying? I felt like at that moment, you know what I mean, that question just wasn't warranted. I feel like that was more of a private question, you know what I'm saying, we could talk about because everybody's not going to be receptive to that. You know what I mean? And I feel like you can get more deeper in the conversation. You can get way deeper in the conversation in a more intimate setting. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times people have things that they went through. You know what I mean? Ain't no telling what he's dealing with in that situation, and how long is he going to be his ex-wife? You know what I'm saying? How long is that? I mean, 15 years down the line, I don't know how long they were husband and wife. But 15 years down the line, what is she gonna be? Is she still gonna be my ex-wife, or is she still gonna be my child's mother? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. She's still going to be your ex wife. Y'all were once married. She'll always be your ex wife now, no matter what.
But I feel like
Because y'all are
that
no
is a
longer together. She's your ex wife. That's just like if you're dating somebody and y'all stop dating, that's still your ex. Like y'all dated at one point, you're no longer dating, so that's your ex now. You're
true.
not
But
just gonna go around talking about, oh, that's my friend. No, that was your ex.
how long are how long are how long are you going to introduce this woman as your ex-wife? You know what I'm saying? How long? You know what I'm saying?
I
I
That
think
mean,
got
you don't really necessarily have to introduce her, but at least saying instead of just completely downplaying it as just a baby mama, like that right there takes away and makes it seem even more suspicious because been within 2 years. Like this isn't no 15 years, long span. This is 2 years ago. And y'all have kids together. So
I mean,
at what point, you know what I'm saying? That's still that's your ex-wife if y'all are divorced.
true,
But I
but
right.
understand what you're saying. Like I completely do. Like, I completely do. But it doesn't matter how long it is down the line. Haven't you heard of people having talking about, oh, I've been married such and such times. That's my ex-husband. Like that's just what it is. It's giving reference to a person to allowing another person to know exactly who this person is. You know what I'm saying? But when you downplay a situation, it makes it look suspicious because later on, if it comes out, oh, well, y'all were once married, it's like, wait a second. That's more than just a boyfriend, girlfriend, baby mama, baby daddy. Y'all was married at one point. So there was extreme love there to let that happen. Don't
Exactly right.
downplay her. That's the mother of
And
your
I
children and your ex wife.
I feel like a
right. And
lot of
I
times.
go go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Q. I'll come right after you.
Okay, I feel like a lot of times we as a people are looking for red flags along the way instead of taking things for face value. You know what I'm saying? I feel like he was very open in this conversation. He's been a very open person the whole time. You know what I mean? If it was coming from a person like Lamar, I really felt like I would be. a little more questionable about it. But my man seemed like he was very open, you know what I'm saying, and talking about his previous dating life and everything. That's what I got, you know what I'm saying, personally. Go ahead,
Under,
Bray.
no, understood. I mean, and I can understand what you're saying about openness, but I
Mm,
think where this comes down to respectfully is the position and how you care about the position. That's just like if we were all in Hollywood, we all had our hosting careers and stuff, right? And somebody asks like, "Hey, do you know Q?" And I'm like, "No, I don't know Q." When you know good to damn well that we know each other, that's disrespecting our brotherhood, our friendship, right? So I think that was just what they were looking for of, who is she to you? Um because at the beginning, middle, end of the day, the only way you'll ever be able to get to that finish line of love is if you are responsible for all parts of your journey to love, not just the parts that you want to remember, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Honestly, my point is to I'm actually leaning towards Q, and guys, I'm at the middle.
mm,
So the conversation was it was so obvious that both sides did not understand each other. So let's just look at this thing. Like, let's not be biased. So they asked you first date questions. I don't care how anybody wants to minds the questions or minds what the women said. Let's even remove the attitude of the way the questions were being asked. Q, let me ask you something because I'm siding you for once. If you met someone and you guys went on a date and you are asked, do you have an ex-wife? Or you don't even need to be asked. Someone just asks you your past relationship. Let's be honest with ourselves for once. You would tell them your past marriages, your past girlfriends, and if I then ask you, okay, do you have a baby mama trouble? If I decide to date you, is she going to come at me? Is she going to attack me? If there was actually nothing there, you would just have laughed at that question, or you'd have just said no. That was why that entire part was very red flag, because he got so defensive. He said you slept with her after you broke up. There were a lot of red flags in what he was saying. And I will also agree that the women were really coming in hot. It was the first conversation that you guys are having together, first time you guys are meeting him. So you would have, expect some fluffy kind of conversations.
mhm.
But if he was not hiding anything, telling me about your past relationship is not something so high risk, except if you experience some sort of abuse. So we're now left in the middle. The women were coming in too hard, and he was being so defensive because he knows the truth about the situation of his relationship with his ex wife. And the fact that we had the first mixer, he did not reveal to the women that he was married. This is the second date they are meeting. He still has not revealed to the women that he is married. What does that tell you? Or he was married. What does that tell you?
I mean, agree. You know what I mean? I do feel like you could have been a little more forthcoming about that. You know what I'm saying? I could see that being a red flag. And I'm not knocking, at all, is anybody's point of view. I agree. But I'm just saying it's way more ways to look at the situation. But coming from the women, you know what I'm saying? As a man, I'm looking at the situation like they're red flags as well. You know what I mean? Just because y'all trying to
Mm-hmm.
y'all beating me. You know what I mean? And in this situation, it's called ready to love. And when you're talking about being ready to love, you're not going to be coming from a place of insecurity. You know what I'm saying? You want to come from a place of strength. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times, these women or either guys are talking from their insecurities. And when you come with that right there, that's going to be a
Hmm.
part of the whole, that's going to be, you're going to come with that and that's going to be a part of your relationship. You know what I'm saying? I really saying you're not healed. When you're ready to
But
love,
Hmm.
when you're ready to
But
love,
starting off,
Sorry, let me just get this point so that we can wrap up this entire segment. Let me say something. Why do people get insecure in relationships? It's because people hide things. April said the
Hmm.
way she described her marriage, you would know that it was abusive. So someone who has learned from that kind of situation would never try to put herself in that. So it's not because she's insecure, it's because she has learned the hard way. And for you to learn something, like that's why I never agree when people say experience is the best teacher, because when you experience something, you become extra cautious. And that's what she said. She knows herself, she knows what she brings to the table. That's why she's extra cautious. And men like Jonathan do not like that, because everybody, let's be frank, wants to keep some cards under their sleeves. I don't think Jonathan is lying. He's just purposely omitting certain truths that would not make him look bad.
No, correct, and not to mention too, and then I know we'll move on to the next segment. But Q, to your point of the women attacking, the man, men also wonder about body count too. So like it happens on both sides. If we really want to be real about it. And if those ladies didn't want to, if those ladies omitted that, then we would be upset with Jonathan of, well, wait a minute, why are you upset about the body count? You should be focused on the now. So it can happen on both sides.
But see, if we actually look at it, the women have actually been vulnerable like that and talked about their past marriages, how many kids they have and not working out. So there's been different instances where the women are being vulnerable and they're opening up about their past. But when it comes to some men, we're not going to say all of them, but certain ones, we see where it becomes a problem because maybe there is something behind it. Especially like we'll get to it, but like Lamar, come on, look at that. That was like
Hmm.
way out of line. But
Absolutely.
you got to look at it on both sides, though. The women can be vulnerable, but the men can't. Like that's, and I
Right.
understand you. They might feel like they're coming in hot, but sometimes with the time frame that they have, sometimes you got to come in hot, get it over with, and you know what I'm saying. Try
Exactly.
to circulate
So what's the
Right.
value of that
Yeah.
because right
What's
now
the
the way that that was formed was almost like speed dating.
It is. You know what I'm saying? I know everything is really coming in really fast, but what was the value of that information anyway if it was gonna come out? I mean, are you gonna come here and lead with that information? You know what I'm saying? I just feel like you just like you said with speed dating. Why in the world will all of this information just come out when I'm just trying to get to know you? You know what I'm saying? I felt like some things can be. It's no telling this conversation really happened within like 2 or 3 days. You know what I mean? From one mix to the next mixer to now. That could be
True.
a three day span. You know what I mean? Of him really talking to these women, and how long has he really talked to these women? First off, you know what I'm saying? Personally, it'd have been cool if it came out a little earlier, but if it did not, I understand why. That's the only thing I'm saying.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
understood. And I was
Let's
just
move.
offering the flip side of that just to be copacetic.
Yeah.
But it's all good.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I don't think we're going to agree. So as usual, let's
I think we were very fair with each other. I think we were fair.
so let's move on to the second scenario in which April was
Oh
in.
Lord help. This damn
So
situation.
um,
April had another chat with Lama, and in this particular conversation, she started with speaking. I can hear myself. Can you please can you mute your mic? Thank you. So she started off talking about her education, things that she has achieved, which was very amazing, and she felt very proud of herself. And then they start talking about Lamar. She's like, "Oh, I've said so much about me." This is the same thing with Jonathan. She was willing to share so much about her till it got to Lamar. And Lama was what was funny about this situation was that Lama was like, okay, let's get into it. First question. She asks about his kids. He says he has none. He says, next question. She asks about his past marriage. He said he had two. Then he says, next question. Then she asks, how long was your last relationship? Um, was it a serious relationship? He says yes. Then she asks, how long was your last relationship? Then he refused to answer. And he started asking her, who are you? I love the way she mentioned her full name when he said, who are you? That part really killed me. But yeah, people are also having mixed feelings towards this because people felt like she was coming too strong to everybody, and that um and some on the flip side, people felt like Lamar had a lot to hide. This is the same Jonathan and April situation that we talked about earlier. Jonathan was
Solana, you there?
Well, I don't know, but I'll say this. When it comes to this situation specifically, he was so, quick to say next question like he was an open book. But then when she starts asking questions about, what's in the chapter, he claims that. It's a problem. And then all he does is talk about sex. Now, I understand, men definitely want sex, but come on, do you have more than that? That's the problem. And I feel like the situations he might have had probably was all sexual situationships, and who wants to really say that? You know
Yeah,
what
no,
I'm saying? But but when it comes to April, like I understand people can say she's coming off strong, but if she's able to hold a conversation and ask questions, like I said, sometimes you have to sit in that uncomfortable. Let's see, you know what I'm saying? What's really going on? And it's not just me asking you questions. I'm asking you these questions because I'm giving you, opportunity to know that I'm open and transparent, and I'm hoping to have a conversation where we can both see if this is, actually something that we can do. But when you cut off the communication and the possibility of even moving forward, then no, that lets me know that there's nothing that could be there. And I feel like that's, you know what I'm saying? That's how that was. He just, for no reason, just shut everything down and just made it look very bad for himself.
no, absolutely. Seeing this exchange of energy pissed me all the way off because even though people can say April does come across strong, there's a difference between coming off strong and not putting up with any ish. And to me, it seems that Lamar is a my highway or no way type of dude. And he's never been challenged and never been held responsible for anything. Because all the question was how long was your last relationship? It wasn't asking about your family. It wasn't, trying to drag you or anything. And, I think about the legendary Aries, who talked about stability. And it seems to me that, how can I put this? It seems like he uses sex not so much just as a coping mechanism, but he used that as his entry point to be able to navigate conversation. Now I know this is just the second episode, but for 2 episodes now, this brother has been on one thing and one thing only. And so to me, it seems like he doesn't have any range because there's nothing in him that has the faculties to be able to give anything. And I know Q will agree with this. Men men know who they are based on what they do, who they're with, and how they invested themselves. And so he doesn't know who he is as a person. He doesn't invest in anything, and most of all, he does not know he does not know how to be responsible for anything. To me, Leandra, you said
Uh,
that's why Lamar likes submissive women because he wants his woman to be seen and not heard. And I and I
Absolutely.
and I agree with you. I think also too he doesn't hear himself,
Mhm.
and if it doesn't agree with him, he'll cut that out. He's not and I'll land with this. You know, in the church house, they always say, I'm not trying to get something from you, I'm trying to give something to you. He's a
Hmm.
taker and not a giver to me.
Yeah. I
Well, hold
want.
on, Brad. I'm gonna say one thing because I love you. Not trying to correct you, but this is actually episode 3. Even though for some reason,
Oh,
On has it
okay.
up that the after show was for episode 2. We're not gonna go
That
there,
part.
not yet.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, this is episode 3, and this is what we're saying.
Right.
You know, you've had some time. And what is it? What is it that we say? You can only give the camera so much
That's
for
it.
them to edit. You know what I'm saying? It's all on you and what you're giving to the camera, and it's showing that there's something behind what it is. And you're right; it could possibly be that ended the relationship. Allow me says he could have ended the relationship this year. Something close. Could have just got out of it. Could still be in a situationship. Like, because it seems like he's trying to get a Rasta instead of a wife.
Mm.
Like, I'm not. Yeah, yeah. Let's just move on.
Q, did you have a take on this?
Yeah, my take on it was for the woman, in this situation, it's a blow that that she got wasted like that. You know what I'm saying? It's a blow she got wasted like that. It was because um I feel like her intentions are well, and I just feel like she was. I'm not really too big on Lamar right now, um, but I can tell that she was headed in the right direction in the conversation because he allowed her he allowed her to ask her those certain questions. You know what I'm saying? Now, in a conversation, you expound upon certain questions. He was just trying to hurry up and get these questions over with so he could talk about whatever else he wanted to talk about. You know what I'm saying? And I don't really feel like she was leading with her accomplishments. She was just saying, that's just basic conversation about things to understand who the person is. And I really don't feel like he really wanted to get to know who she was. Next question, next question, next question. I'm just like, what I mean? That's one thing you're finding out early is who's ready to love and who's not ready to love. Because if you're ready to love, you're open to people. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't know what love looks like. You can't be so closed minded to say it's only gonna be like this. It's only gonna be like that. You know what I'm saying? I felt like she was brave in that situation, sitting down talking to a man just because of the energy that he was coming with. You know what I mean? And he didn't really have to snap on her talking about I don't have to answer that question. You know what I'm saying? In that regard, I felt like that's a red flag. Him saying, "Hey, I don't want to answer that question. I don't want to answer that question." Why don't you want to answer that question? It ain't like she was, getting too personal about things. You know what I mean? I just felt like, he was in the kitchen and couldn't handle it from the energy that he gave off.
Yeah,
Yeah,
agreed. And I agree with you. Allow me. He just kept saying next question, but had no answers. So yeah, let's go.
let's go on. So, at the ending of the episode, she had a date. This one, we're going to round this up in. Sorry, I think that my fan is making a little bit of noise close to me, so I'm just going to move it. So, at the end of the episode, she had a date with Jonathan. At this point, the fact that they scheduled these dates, they definitely wanted her out of the show so badly because you already know that these two people, they already have like bad blood. So they get to the date, she's confused why he wanted a date with her. That already shows me that she was not really into the date. Neither was he into the date, and it was so obvious that the show made them go on that date because both of them do not like each other. And then all of a sudden she starts asking again about this ex-wife stuff or baby mama because then nobody actually knew that she was his ex-wife. So I was like, I mean, I know that she's forcing me, she's making me frustrated with these questions. But at this point in the episode, I was like, if I was Jonathan and I know I have no skeletons in my cupboard, I would have let this snapped and I'll tell you she was my ex-wife who ended this time and I've not dated or slept with her since this time. Are you satisfied? And then she will end up looking foolish. but he kept mum. So I'm sorry, his response is just weird. Because if someone is nagging at you over and over, and then unfortunately you're in a position where you're cornered, you would legit blot out the truth if you were being honest. But he's still keeping quiet about the whole situation. So something is thinking around this place, and it is definitely not the food that they are eating in that restaurant. They didn't even touch the food
Mm,
anyways.
I have this is my question. Okay, so we know that they film for hours and hours on end. So if you're sitting in this restaurant and you're filming for hours, what are you expecting to conversate about? Because at this point, this isn't where it's a speed dating and you got to get to know each other quick. This is okay. We're sitting down. We're having that private conversation that you was speaking of, Q. Now we're having this conversation and it's just us. Let's talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So let's have this conversation. And for all these hours of filming, you're telling me that we have like it's almost like no, we can't talk about this. Let's find something else. But for how many hours are you going to find just unnecessary nonsense to talk about? Why can't we get to the nitty gritty and just have real conversation? What are you expecting to talk about? That's what I just don't get. Like it's a problem to bring up or ask questions that are actually relevant to dating, but you don't want to answer them and you take it as though somebody's coming for you. I don't get it.
Do they have a connection though?
How can you make a connection without questions?
So this is my
How can
thing
you
is
see?
since they don't have a connection, I give it up to Jonathan. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times when people come with a certain energy and you don't match that energy, you don't give them control over your emotions. You know what I'm saying? Even though they keep beating a dead horse, he stayed calm. You know what I mean? Through that whole date. You know what I mean? I was kind of, to me, I was like, okay, wow, that's how you handle that. You know what I'm saying? Because eventually she died down from it. Because he knew the energy he was gonna give her. He like, we don't really have anything in common. Why are we here? I don't think Jonathan really asked her. I really feel like the show just put them together because of the conflict. You know what I'm saying? In that situation. Also, it kind of set her up to show why she's about to be eliminated, personally.
I
Listen, I
mean
can
that. I
agree with
mean,
you on some of the things, Q. Like I'm not gonna act like you're not making sense, okay? You're making sense. Like
right.
especially when it comes to, filling a person out because sometimes before even a conversation you can feel an energy. If the energy's off, it's definitely going to throw off what possibly could be. But I'm
Correct.
saying when it comes to dating, like sometimes some questions, you know what I'm saying? Like they don't need to be sugar coated. Come on, just still come as your authentic self, even if you're not feeling that person right now. You have to film. There's questions being asked. Go ahead and ask that question because I'm gonna tell you what, regardless of if you're on this show or if you're out here in the real world, you're gonna be asked those questions.
Hmm.
Somebody's gonna want to know. But some things can be actually avoided and eliminated by you being on this show. Some people will know your background and understand. And then next you know you're, drawing in people that are more compatible with you. Don't just be so standoffish and then, make it as though this is just so uncomfortable you just can't ask questions.
I'm
But unless
totally.
he's looking, I think Jonathan's looking at it like, why is this important?
Because it is important. Like I do not understand why a man would say a woman's body count is important, a woman's baby daddy is important, a woman's past is important, but then when it comes to them asking you all of a sudden why we're talking about my ex, I do not like all the women on this show. All of them have revealed their past, especially with their exes. But why is it such an insurmountable mountain for the men to just say it? It's not something bad. If I was not sleeping with my ex, if I did not have a beta baby daddy, I would tell you, oh, my ex is happily married, is with someone else, but we co-parent fine, we're good. He would not have a problem with me dating. That was all that needed to be said. And yes, I understand that. To be honest, April also shot herself on the foot in this conversation. To be like, you already know that this guy was looking at you with the side eye because you are asking him persistently about something definitely trying so hard to hide. Because why don't you want to say anything about your baby mama if there's nothing to hide? And then you come out here unloading all your marital woes. Oh my god, he was very controlling, and then when I got out I started having, I was like, girl, read the room. Read the room. Read the damn. This
Yeah.
man, yeah, like, if you were beating black and blue in your marriage, he did
Agreed.
not give f's about that. You just gave him ammo to like go to that men's lounge and say, oh, you're not healed, oh, you're this, oh, you're that. That was like, girl, it was bad for her. It was bad. Like, and that date I was like, come on, girl, this is not what we should be doing here.
Now
That,
that is true. Now that is very true, Salon. But let's also not forget Jonathan here, because Jonathan, if we remember from this episode, there was I know we haven't talked about it yet, but with the bowling date, and story, there wasn't any chemistry there either. So there has been dates that Jonathan's been on where the energy is just not there, and sometimes it's been his deposition and his position in that interaction too.
But I mean, that's just a part of everything. You feel me, bro? Like
Right.
it's certain people that you're gonna vibe with, and there's certain people you're not gonna vibe with. You know what I mean?
I
And I
mean,
can
no, that's
tell.
a given for sure. Yeah.
And another thing about it is who create that space for you to be vulnerable to open up to talk about that. You know what I'm saying? So that's my thing with Jonathan. I feel like he's. I remember at the beginning the mixer he was in. He said, you know what I mean. I've been through some stuff. I've done the work on myself. I'm healed. You know what I'm saying? So and I really believe because a lot of time from the place that he's coming from, I feel like he's coming from a healed place. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel like he's jumping on anybody or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? I really feel like he just he just really at ease about a lot of things. You know what I mean? So his approach might be a little different.
But
no,
if
I
that's the
mean,
case, then why would you be so standoffish where you can't answer
that's
questions? If you're fully healed, why can't you answer these questions fully and be so transparent to where it doesn't even matter if our vibe is not off? I can tell you my story because it could be impactful in some type of way.
It might be triggering. You know what I'm
But
saying?
he's
It might.
healed. Wait
I
a
mean,
minute. How can you be healed and triggered?
because that's
why
just
is
how it
that?
is. You can be healed and triggered because you're not gonna let nobody take you to that place to open that up. You know, until
Yeah,
you're
you
ready to.
can. You can be, but come on.
I
Q,
mean, personally,
you know that you really just like, you just, if that's the truth, then he's a hypocrite. Because he's healed, it can be triggering for him, but he's judging April for what happened to her. Come on now.
I mean, I like the guy. You know what I'm saying? And there's always two sides of the story. You know what I mean? And I want him to stay on the show.
That's
No,
just
no,
because he looks like Luke James.
That's just my thing. I like
no,
him. I
and
just want.
I mean, listen, he does have, he does have something about him, but I think there has to be a truthfulness and a sincerity in this experience of, if we're asking April not to be so aggressive, we also should be asking Jonathan to not be so standoffish, because with Kastori, with bowling and stuff, when not yeah, no, it was that. Okay, now I remember. It was, so how deep are you involved with your family business? And he said, and I quote, 6 days a week. And then, Jonathan asked, what is your what
What's your love language?
right, what is her love language? And so, it was, and she said quality time. And he said, why does quality time mean so much to you? It was cold after that. You said your job is 6 days a week. And you're asking this grown woman, after she said quality time, why is quality time so important to you? So sometimes, and listen, and listen, Q is almost about to be like Solana with the couple from Ray Love Make a Move. She was there for everything with that couple. Cam and Zadia just was defending them all the way. But Q, I do believe that Jonathan does have a coldness to him sometimes, where he's not. He seems to be open in the moment, but he doesn't execute it with emotionality sometimes. That's just from me. Not saying he's not a bad dude, but there are times where he's not really giving anything or making it a dead moment, just like this day.
Yeah, so let's move on because we're all saying the same thing. We're not saying that he's a bad guy. We're just saying there are things that he's omitting on purpose. So now let's go on to the bowling thing because we're moving from April to Koshia. So they went bowling, and to be honest, I was very impressed with Koshia. I was like, "Damn, girl, you're good." You've basically even summarized the whole thing with Jonathan. So we're going to move on. Oh, my mic is low. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can, but there's a little bit of feedback.
There is. It's not my mic. It's someone else's mic because I can't say hear
Okay,
it.
hang on. Let me mute my mic.
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, but the stag is still kind of there, or is that just me?
Oh, it's there a little bit, but you sound a lot louder though.
Yes.
Oh, I was actually like just speaking with my normal volume. People do tell me that my voice is quite low. I just don't understand why. Hi Aubrey, thank you for tuning
Hey,
in.
Aubrey.
So now
Hey,
you've
Aubrey.
you've summarized this entire part. So we'll just move on to the this part that led to the whole drama at the ending.
Yes.
Um so they had a conversation. To be honest, I don't understand what was happening in this conversation because two of them did not have the same vibe. He's too playful, she's too serious, he's too free, she's too judgmental. And when he started bringing all the black or white, pussy or this, I was like, come on, man, can't you read the room? She's not interested in what you're saying, she's not interested in what you're doing. I'm like, he just sounded so immature. Like, come on, this is not the time to be playing this kind of game. You can obviously see that she was visibly irritated. And I think that is my problem with Alonso. Because as much as I feel like he's the most open dude, he just cannot control the impulse to throw these very irritating curveballs and then smile at himself as if he has done something, maybe launch a spacecraft to the moon. Like, come on, you're not doing something revolutionary. You're very irritating when you do that. And I just don't understand why he doesn't understand. You're such a good dude, but it's not working. And it's weird to me that she was very, like, very, she said she loves communication, but comprehension is better. And it was very, I was like, okay, then he speaks on, oh, but what if I say, but what if we have like a pregnancy scare? And then she acted like he was saying he was going to kill her. That's exactly your issue, Koshia. You said you like communication, but you want comprehension. But every single conversation you've had on this show, it just points me to the fact that you have comprehension issues. As much as I feel like Alonso is too childish in his conversations, and I've said this a lot, he's too friendly. He doesn't know when to like tone it down, and it can be very irritating to people, to me especially, because I get irritated easily, especially when you are saying that I'm not entertaining the conversation you're having, and then you keep having it telling me, oh, let's choose, let's do this. If I'm in the mood, I will entertain you, I will have those conversations, but she's not in the mood. And the fact that for someone who claims that you're good at conversations, you could not comprehend that he was being playful, I was just like, oh god damn, two of you do not fit each other. It's just weird. So when we had the, should we talk about that ending now or should we keep it for later?
No, hold on. Yeah, let's save that for later because
Yeah.
just with this right here, I was telling Braylon,
Yes.
some, and this is the part where I said we're going to come back to the whole uncomfortable. Okay, y'all got to follow me. Like I said, sometimes you have to sit in your own uncomfortability in order to get comfortable. Because when you
Agreed.
sit in that uncomfortability, we're gonna say example relationships. You're in a relationship, that relationship ends, you're lonely. Loneliness is very uncomfortable. But after being lonely for so long, you start to realize that, hey, wait a minute, I can do this. It's not as uncomfortable as it seems. And then it becomes so, like, it's, you know what I'm saying, so comfortable that you forgot how uncomfortable it was. And then you also have to think about this. If you can't sit in an uncomfortable situation like this, how is it that when you're in a relationship and the situation gets uncomfortable, what are you going to do? Walk away? Can you stand in an uncomfortable situation when it comes to your relationship? Like, this is kind of showing both sides because just like he said, he likes to throw curveballs. Okay. It all depends on what kind of curveballs you throwing. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not finna just be sitting here playing and thinking that it's fun and games when I'm sitting here thinking this is a serious relationship. That's not what we're on. But when it comes to, okay, we're serious, we can be serious if we have that uncomfortable, serious conversation. Can you handle
Hmm.
it? Because right now you're showing that you can't. So, I
Exactly.
mean,
No, you're right. I mean, and to that point, and I've often said this on this panel. Boys and girls want spontaneity. Men and women want security. It's not that men and women don't want spontaneity. They just want to see you handle your security. And I feel that for Koshia, she carries a lot, and she wants to know that her partner can create that security within a relationship. And it's difficult because you don't want to change who you are as a person, but you also have to be willing, like you said, to be in that uncomfortability and be willing to be a solution in that. I always say I can't have two Braylons in one relationship. I'm gonna need one of us to be the calm in the middle of the storm. And so when it came to, the fact of, you're spoiled and things like that, like you get more flies with honey than vinegar. You know what I mean? It was just like the other boy that, when Koshia talked about her kids and stuff like that, and well, not her kids, but her ex's kids, and that she didn't know that she had kids. And the guy was like, "So the D was that good?" I think what ends up happening on this show and in life is that sometimes the response that you get is because of the response that you give. So I think that Koshia has to recognize that not everybody is about security. And he has to recognize that there's more to life than just having spontaneity.
I just don't feel like they mixed anyway. You know what I mean?
No,
Him
agreed,
being so
agreed.
him being so spontaneous, and she having, I think she was previously married. You know what I'm saying? And she got kids. And I forgot her occupation, but they just never mixed anyway. You know what I'm saying? So I can understand why she felt the way she felt. You know what I'm saying? Because he came on the show as a free spirited, and but because she is so demanding at the exact same time. So I never really thought that they mixed anyway. And they really had Jonathan looking really weak at the end of the show, and I didn't appreciate that. I'm like, bro, you got to stand up. But that just I didn't like that date at all. No parts about the date. The best part about the date was the other woman. I felt like she was a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? Easier,
Free?
I guess, easier to, yeah, free and a little
more
more easier
down
to
to
talk to.
more down to
A little
earth.
more, exactly, a little more down to earth. Well, old girl, she just, I feel like she has good intentions, but a lot of times her emotions get the best of her.
By the way, that was Alexis on the date. Yep.
So yeah,
You said that was who?
Alexis,
Alexis.
Alexa, yeah.
Yep.
Alexis.
Hmm.
So let's go on. So we're moving to the second part so that we can go into the ending of the episode for the
Oh,
epic
good damn. Do we have to
showdown.
talk about this ninja again? I mean, I'd rather just talk about how Kashia knows how to handle a ball and throw it with some curves down the wood. I'd rather talk about that again than this because this situation. Let's go on. Let's go on.
Solomon,
Big red energy.
you they had a date, and everybody was really feeling Patrice. So to be honest, I was very shocked that some people had negative things to say about her during the men's lounge because I felt like she was a very, very, very open person. Anyways, so Vanessa, it's so obvious that she's so reserved. She's not used to. I don't know if I need to say she's just not used to black people. So because of how or being in the bottom two, I think it actually affects people. So she decided to ask Lama of all people where she went wrong and what she could do. Now, for the love of me, Lama tells Hannah, oh, they feel like she's too reserved, that she would never try to shake out of basically how she is to be spontaneous. I was expecting this man to give some sort of good at like, okay, what do you want her to do? And from nowhere he says scream. And she's like, it's like yes, that's in his then in his confession I was like, yeah, that's the reason why you're not for me. I want you to be spontaneous. Dude, if you told me to scream in someone's store, there's no way in hell I'm screaming, especially if I'm confused. You could obviously see that Vanessa was lost. She was trying to understand where you guys were coming from. You said she should be spontaneous, and then you're telling her to scream. That was.
Like, and with the way
Yeah,
that he like is, it kind of seemed like his, he was coming from a sexual spot because that's all he talked about. But when it came to her, I said it last week that she has to get reacclimated with black people because she's not used to it at all. So she's
not
definitely
not,
uncomfortable and hasn't found her place yet. So
not
it's gonna
Kira's
take her a
sister on
little
the
bit of
show.
time. Huh?
Not Kira's sister on the show. Not Kira from
Listen,
Last
yes, yes. And yeah, I agree with you. Lamar is definitely the last person that I would ask
Ah,
about anything because he's gonna turn everything sexual. Like, come
Mm-hmm.
on, why does her screaming have to do what does that have to do with anything?
Not a
Like,
damn
and
thing.
why would you want her to scream in a store? Like, no, you just he needs to go. Like next week I hope they vote him off. I'm ready for him to go because every scene he's talked like, and y'all are probably gonna say, well, at least he was, being honest and saying how he felt. Okay. And again, is there anything else to him? What else does he
I,
have to offer?
I can
Like,
appreciate him show. I can appreciate not cut you off, Gigi. My fault. I can appreciate him showing up being his authentic self because it makes it easier for the women to decide. You know what I'm saying? I can appreciate that. You know what I mean? If he's this way right here, and then later on the show, he turned into a whole nother person. You know what I mean? That's one thing. But he's showing up acting like a fool. You know what I'm saying? You act like a fool, you get treated like one. You know what I'm
that
saying?
part. That part. Because when it came to this,
yeah, definitely
now,
agree with that. But
yeah,
anyway,
true.
is there anything else to it?
Right.
Like, does
And
this fool do cartwheels or you just a fool? Like, does this
exactly,
fool come with tricks or are you just a fool?
right. No, you're absolutely right,
you
Gigi.
know,
I mean, right. And in this date, this was about art. You know what I mean? I think sometimes when it comes to this show, nope, I think when it comes to this show, sometimes I think as the vacuum went up, um, I think sometimes people like to suck up the energy um just so they know, hey, listen, I'm a Bissell vacuum. I'm top of the line. Look at me. I'm sucking up all it. You see my suction, right? I'm getting everything. I'm sucking up all the energy. You know what I mean? I'm sucking up every single thing that you're saying. And sometimes that can be a little too much because if you because sometimes if something gets caught up in that vacuum, it messes up the vacuum, right? And then the vacuum is no longer usable. So I feel like with Lamar in this date, he was trying to suck up the energy so much of being seen that he mentally choked himself. Because with Patrice, when he said to Patrice that you could be the canvas, I'm like, sir, how about we just knock you out so you can't even mouth canvas anymore? Okay. Seriously, let's see how you can work without a mouth to request for a color to use. Because I'm just like, dude, this is called Ready to Love, not Ready to Love BDSM edition. Like that casting form is on the way. I talked with On later today before getting on here.
Ah,
Um, but that season's not available for casting yet, sir. And it seems to me that with next week being about intimacy and the ladies being in control next week, I don't think he's ready for that nuclear bomb of his ignorance to blow up back in his face. I don't.
Nah, I don't. So it was just so. I actually felt bad for her because she was just so ignorant to ask him. Maybe she has not really had like conversations with him. That's why she felt like he was sort of trustworthy. And I'm sure she regretted it when she went home. But let's now move on. This was the last date before the men's lounge. Then we'll get down to the epic ending of the episode. So Patrice has a date with Laron, and Laron had a date with his food. And then at the ending, he says they had no connection. I'm like, how would you have connection when you are so busy with your food?
Now, hey, listen here now, okay? Listen now. I do not like the slander that is being thrown upon me. You understand, Solana? Now, listen, that catfish was amazing. I gotta tell you, the breading was breading, the pepper was peppering, the salt was salting, and the fish was fishing. You understand? I mean, listen, it was so good. It was almost like Janelle actually learned how to fish and caught the fish. You understand?
Oh, come
I mean, it was that
on.
good.
Ah,
No. I'm just saying, like it was that good. You understand? Somebody gave a damn.
evidently, it was so good that you couldn't even see nobody else. It wouldn't have mattered if Janelle caught the fish or not. You wouldn't have been able to see it.
Well.
You was
Listen. Let me tell you. Well,
you
listen.
couldn't
Let me
see
tell
you
you.
couldn't see Patrice right in front of you while you was eating that
Well,
catfish.
well,
You didn't. He didn't take a breath.
well,
He
well,
was
well, well,
inhaling through his ears eating that catfish.
well. I mean, listen. A real man like like my man Braylon and Q, they would have been all up in Patrice's peaches. You understand? Drinking down that peach juice. You understand? But with me, because we tape 8 to 12 hours a day. I was hungry. You understand? So, and I know Maurice has been on the panel before, but listen, I'm Maurice's lost cousin, twice removed. You understand? So, listen, we just like food.
Listen, it's oh my gosh, every season though. Like, what is going on? I am so
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
this is
I had to. I
it's just
had
so
to.
crazy. Like, evidently they're taking them to places they probably have never been. So you know what I'm saying? I understand getting lost in the food, but dang, when you just completely forget that a person is there and all you can keep saying is how good this fish is. Come on now. She couldn't even eat her food because she was just like, look, you know what? You have your time with your fish, and I'll just go ahead and go. And he was like, okay, yeah, this fish is. Can I get a second? Oh, yeah, this fish is good. Like, I would not be surprised if he didn't take some to go. Like,
No,
he had
absolutely.
he double backed or something. Like he did a you know what I'm saying, a reverse. Because come on, it,
And then
okay.
and then and then not to mention too, like when a woman asks you, "Are you ready to be married?" and you say, "Listen, I roll from Wednesday to Sunday," And she asks, like, okay, I understand that, but are you ready to be out of that? It's like, I want somebody to get me out of that. No, you should say, listen, I've been ready to get out of it, but I haven't found the one worthy enough. Like, you take some responsibility here. Like, damn, your mouth was more responsible on the fish than your mouth in the conversation. Jesus.
He
Because if I
definitely
was,
did.
because honestly, if I was there, Patrice's teeth wouldn't be just smiling because of the conversation. Her teeth would be happy that night. Listen, but that's neither here nor there. So we can
Yeah,
just roll
let's
on,
leave it
Solana.
there.
Just
Let's get into the men's lounge. So the men had a lot of things to say in the men's lounge that it was really confusing to me because their attitudes towards the women and what they were saying about them in the men's lounge was just like heaven and earth. So it was very, very. I hope the women are watching and hearing. May God bless their soul. So now, finally, at the bottom, we had Koshia and April. April ended up being eliminated, and she was like, "Nobody can tell me I'm not ready to love." But for Koshia, at this point, I don't even think they were discussing the "you're not ready to love" anymore. They had their own other issue. So apparently they had like a date. I don't think we really got to see this particular date where he started the same nonsense curveball questions and then he asked her that sexual question. But we all know how dumb he can be. Like, he obviously did not mean that in a sexual way. But as I've said, Koshia is way too, I don't say she's advanced in age, but she's way too serious and she's not thinking on the same wavelength as you. The first time you had that conversation, you understood that she did not like that. For the fact that you had the same conversation again, what exactly were you thinking? Obviously, she would be mad. But then I have said this: if there were cameras rolling, you would not catch me dead being so mad that I would stand up and walk away. You would never.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was a beautiful view as she was walking though. I'm not gonna sit here and
Oh,
front on
come
that. But
on.
hey, listen, it was on the screen. What was I supposed to do? But to
No,
your
but
point,
listen, and she did bring it up though.
yeah, no, she did. And the context of that was it was a phone conversation that they had. It wasn't the actual date, Salon, but it was a phone conversation. And so they were just,
I was saying that they had a date and he asked this question on the first date during that whole game. After the game, he asked the same type of questions. So the fact that she did not like it then, and then he said the same questions again,
right.
that just showed that he lacks like emotional intelligence.
No, and I fully agree with you. And we all talk in the group chat. And Q, I remember you were saying that Kastori should leave. And what I said in the group chat was that, well, I mean, if the conversation had the parameters of getting to know each other on a friendship level of like, do you like to travel? Okay, you travel to Dubai. What did you learn from that? Um, that's what I was on, right? Because context is everything. And me and Gigi, we talked before the show, and Gigi was saying to me that, if this show is called Ready to Love, which it is, that you have to be willing to be open to exploring all facets of love, and sex is a part of that. The problem is, how do you go about that, and how do you execute the energy in that? Because, like I said before, if the parameters weren't there to be flirtatious, then would understand being upset. And everybody takes, flirting in a different form. You know what I mean? But
For now on, make it to where the men or women, because I'm gonna tell you something. there's there's a double standard when it comes to men and women, honestly. Because if a woman's coming off so strong to where all she's talking about is sex, and you're trying to, you're ready for love, it's going to come off to be off-putting to you. You're not going to like it. But there's some men who's going to be like, oh yeah, I'm ready to go, because hey, I'm not really looking for love, but I'm looking for the same thing, so they're going to go. But for the men who would be really looking and ready for love, that's not going to be something that they like or want to talk about. Now, it is it's a natural part of a relationship. Now, and Braylon, you're right. We did talk about this. There is a way to go about it. Now, if you have to say to introduce it, if you have to ask if, conversations about sex is off the table, start off with that. You know what I'm saying? Just to cross, just to make sure that you are bridging the gap and you're making sure there's some comfortability there before proceeding. If that's what you have to do, read the room. You can tell by a person's personality if they're going to be uptight about it or if they might be a little bit lax about it. So instead of even putting yourself in a position to deal with someone who you might feel is going to be uncomfortable, go ahead and, go to somebody that you might think it's okay. It's all about your match. But trying to get to know somebody is it's always difficult because people are so different. And the way things are now, everybody's so easily offended. You can't have no say. You're censored with everything. So it's just like, what can you really say? And when it comes to Koshia and, the whole elimination part, her getting so upset and talking about the situation that had happened and how, you know, she got so upset, starts tapping the table and, kind of raising her voice. Why would you let it get you there? If it was so uncomfortable, honestly, go tell production that made you feel uncomfortable. Like, let's go ahead and start calling stuff out. It's okay. If you feel uncomfortable, let production know. I'm pretty sure that it'll get handled. Just like Lamar, if people are feeling uncomfortable, why you go let it be known. But you don't let anybody knock you out of your element just because, like I said, sometimes you got to sit in the uncomfortable. It's all about how you handle it, though.
Q,
Q,
you got
you
something
got
to say?
something?
We saw your
Can't
mic
hear
open,
anything
but
if you're saying anything.
you may have to go out and come back
Um,
in, Q. So I'm not because we're
yeah.
not hearing you.
Ucha, what do you think really about it? Your mic's muted, Ucha.
Yeah.
Braylon, you got anything else while they're figuring out the mic?
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, to tell you the truth, I truly feel with this episode, it seemed to me that maybe this season is going to be a season of mixed emotions. Um, and I say that because with the situation with Koshia and that brother, and also Jonathan, it seems to me that there are some people that they know who they are, but they don't know who they are for this experience. And so there's going to be mixed emotions of recognizing, okay, my life is my life, but I have to give my life. And I don't think some people were mentally prepared for that. I thought Q's mic was open for a minute.
Yeah, I like I was saying, I didn't like how Alonzo carried himself in that date. Um, I feel like he let her bully him a little bit. And I really felt like he could have stood up for himself in that instance. You know what I'm saying? And I guess he could have really spoke to her and said why guys feel the way they do about her. He would have just said, we talked about it and this is the outcome. You know what I'm saying? I do feel like she's more deserving of, at least he says that she's ready to love. Now, a lot of time when it comes down to that, you already love, they give a reason why You know what I'm saying? You're eliminated, or a reason why you're still here, and what can you work on along the way? You know what I mean? Because you don't know what you don't know. You know what I'm saying? I wish you would have gave her that information, but it really felt like she bullied him in that conversation because he was in. I understand, but you really not understanding what she's saying, and you just saying it to move on to the next for the rest of the date. Her getting up and walking off, that was really uncalled for. You know, if you really want a resolution to why, you know, I mean, you could have sat there and cried a little bit more, but getting off and walking off like a 2 year old is not, you know, not the answer.
Ucha, you there?
Yeah, I am. Sorry, I had to. I was doing something in the background. So, have we covered the entire episode?
I think we have. But before that though, I don't know if y'all have noticed this, Ray to Love Nation. Um, there's an after show that's happening on YouTube, on Own's YouTube channel, and the after show comes out Fridays at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Now, if you're wondering why this is such a big deal, the four of us takes this show very seriously. Because we have a unique combination of bringing soul to this show that the cameras don't capture. To be able to release footage 5 hours out before 8 o'clock ruins the quality of the show. Even though they don't reveal who gets eliminated, it's such a disconnect. Um, and it's supposed to be after the show. So I wanted to bring that up. I talked with Gigi earlier about it and Solana as well, and I've been messaged it in the group chat as well. But it seems to me that own they need a reset in terms of structure and processes of how they care about their shows, because um that's disrespecting the audience at that point.
And not only that, but I mean, it's alleged and has been posted on Instagram that two of them, one being one person that was eliminated and one person that's still on the show, are currently dating. So,
Yeah.
and this is alleged, but I mean, if you've been on Instagram, you've probably seen the pictures of them together. And there were people actually congratulating them. So
They
I don't know, but this isn't even. We're on the third episode, and
they
you know
shouldn't
what
be
I'm
posting
saying?
this on. Like, come on. We complained about them spoiling too much, and they're still doing it.
Yeah. So yeah, they're definitely spoiling the season. So,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah, I
agree
think
with
we
people.
covered everything.
Yeah, I also agree with people in the comments on Instagram. April shouldn't have left. To be honest, I have said it several times. None of the ladies should have been evicted, but the game is the game. Blame the game, do not blame the players. So thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you all. You guys host your after show when?
You
What
said
you mean
after show.
Yeah.
for Love and Marriage Huntsville or?
No. When is the Ready to Love after show again? I think
Oh
I've never
yes.
seen.
So yeah, the Ready to Love after show that's on Own's YouTube channel comes out every Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern.
That's crazy.
So yeah, so they release it 5 hours out before the actual episode comes out at 8 o'clock.
Well, I don't
Yeah.
know.
So
No. So yeah, we'll see you guys next time. It was really fun today. I hope we stop eliminating people that are worth staying in the show and start eliminating more of the
you
llama.
sound really low, Uja.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay.
Hi guys. I don't know how to
Yeah, we
talk
can hear you
high.
now.
Yes, we can
Like,
hear
I
you
make it
now.
hard to put my mouthpiece close to my mouth. I don't know. My voice is naturally low, so that's just it. But I said, I hope we stop eliminating people who should not be eliminated and start eliminating more of the llamas. Because I'm tired of
Agreed.
keeping people for drama. This show was actually for love, and that was why it blew up. And now it's
Totally
actually
agree. I
receding.
agree.
It's receding because now they're keeping people for drama. I don't
Yeah.
mind watching people falling in love. I'm not much of a like a love kind of person, but when I'm watching the reality TV for love, I watch for love. That's why I like currently Love Island UK is airing, but I'm actually tuned off. Normally, I watch this show every day because the episodes come on every day. But it's like nobody's falling in love on the show, so I'm just disconnected. If I want to watch people fall in love, please show me people falling in love. But yeah, thank you all for joining the live. We'll see you guys next Saturday. Thank you,
Yes.
Braylon. Thank you,
No
Q.
problem.
Thank
Glad to
you.
be here. Glad to be here.
I hope the season keep going on this interesting trajectory because I don't want it to go downhill like the last one went.
Agreed. Agreed.
Agreed.
Bye
Yeah.
bye.
All right.
All
Much love,
right.
everybody.
Bye.
Holla. All right, family.